we are discussing about the topic life processes. In this chapter, we need to cover what exactly the life processes are, the process of nutrition, process of respiration, transportation and excretion. The maximum weightage we need to give the process of nutrition, because from this topic, MCQs, various short answer questions or short answer questions are formed, whereas from the topics respiration and excretion, long answer or case study based questions used to come, and from transportation, either short answer question of 2 marks or long answer question of 3 marks used to come. When we start to discuss about the life processes, we used to say that on this earth, living organisms are present as well as non-living things are also present, and they are constantly, regularly used to interact with each other. So how to identify whether the object is living or non-living? We used to say that these living organisms like bacteria, plant, animals used to show certain specific characteristics. Mark it down, यहाँ पर बेटा note कर लो. Sometimes 1 mark questions used to come, that please write it down the characteristics of the living organism. In that condition you need to answer living organisms are able to give response to the environmental changes. They are able to give response to the change in temperature, touch, pain, pressure, but non-living objects are unable to do so. These living organisms used to exchange the gases from their surrounding environment. They transport the substances inside their body. They remove the metabolic waste from their body, and they are able to perform the process of reproduction. Now, when we used to define this term life processes, we used to say that now we are able to identify whether the object is living or non-living. If the object is able to give response, we will say that this is a living object only. And that living organism or living object always used to perform certain activities on day-to-day basis. The activities which are performed by the living organism to sustain their life on earth. Every day we need to perform nutrition, every day we need to perform respiration, transportation, excretion. So all these activities are collectively known as life processes. Now in this chapter, gradually we will discuss about the process of nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. When we start to discuss about the term nutrition, we used to say it is the process in which an organism used to intake the nutrient or food. It can be carbohydrate, protein or fats, and utilize this nutrient to release the energy. And where they require this energy is later on utilized in the chemical reactions of their cells. So this energy is later on used in metabolic reactions of cells. Now, there are different mode of nutrition. On the basis of mode of nutrition, all organisms are majorly divided into 2 subgroups. Autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What exactly the autotrophic mode of nutrition is? Okay. In autotrophic mode of nutrition, in this mode, an organism is able to synthesize their own food from simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water. Example, green plants, and some bacteria. So, we can define, if any organism is able to synthesize their own food, they are automatically able to make their own food from CO2 and water like substances, then they will be considered as autotrophs, and this mode of nutrition will be considered as autotrophic mode of nutrition. Next, heterotrophic. In this mode, an organism is not able to synthesize or produce their own food. Hence, they are dependable on others to fulfill their requirement of food. So, we are discussing about the mode of nutrition. Nutrition को define करें तो we will say nutrition is the process in which an organism used to intake the nutrient and utilize them to release the energy. Now, if an organism is able to synthesize their own nutrient or food, will be considered as autotrophic organism. Example, green plants, some bacteria, whereas animals, most of the bacteria, fungi, they are not able to synthesize their food. So they are not able to synthesize and hence dependable on others to fulfill the requirement of food. They will be considered as heterotrophic nutritions, or the organism showing heterotrophic nutrition. It is further considered of three main types. Saprophytic, parasitic, and holozoic. So, the major types or major forms of the heterotrophic nutrition are saprophytic, parasitic and holozoic. These are the major types. In saprophytic mode, an organism is dependable on dead or decay materials, means on dead plants, dead animals. Okay, so organism is dependable on dead or decay materials. Examples: fungi. Parasitic. In parasitic mode of nutrition, an organism is dependable on another living organism. Example: Plasmodium and roundworms. These are the parasites which used to cause disorders inside our body. So we are the host for these organisms. So the organism which is dependable will be considered as parasite, and on which it is dependable will be considered as host. Okay. A quick recap: we are discussing about the topic life processes. In this chapter we need to cover what is life processes, what is nutrition, what is respiration, what is transportation and what is excretion. Major weightage is given to the topic nutrition from this topic in board examinations. MCQs, very short answers, and sometimes short answer questions used to come. From the topic respiration and excretion, major chances are of long answer questions and case studies, and from the topic transportation, short answer or long answer questions used to come. When we start to discuss about the term what exactly the life process is, we used to say on this earth living and non-living organisms are present which regularly used to interact with each other. So we need to identify what exactly the living thing is and what exactly the non-living thing is. So यहाँ पर दो क्वेश्चंस के आंसर हमें एक साथ मिल जाते हैं. Might be they can ask a 2-mark question, differentiate between living and non-living organisms. They can ask 1-mark question, what are the characteristics of living organism. So the one most important characteristics we need to mention, the very first, that is living organisms are able to give response to the environmental changes. They exchange the gases from their surrounding environment. They used to transport the substances inside their body. They used to remove the metabolic waste, and they also able to perform the reproduction. Now, this life process, when we wish to define this term, we used to say that now we are able to identify what is living and what is non-living. If Might be right now I am living. If I will stop to give response to the environmental changes, immediately I will become dead or non-living. So we had identified we are living and we are willing to sustain this life. हम इस life को बनाए रखना चाह रहे हैं. And for the same, we used to perform certain activities on day-to-day basis. We need to intake the food. We used to exchange the gases on day-to-day basis. We used to transport the materials inside our body. We used to remove the waste from our body. So, to sustain the life on earth, we need to perform certain basic activities like nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, etc. And all these activities are collectively known as life processes. When we start to discuss about the term nutrition in detail, then we used to say it is an example of life process, the process in which an organism used to intake the nutrient or food and utilized it to release the energy. This energy is later on used in the metabolic reactions of the cells. The form of the food, it may be carbohydrate, protein and fat, etc. When we start to discuss about the mode of nutrition, we used to say majorly divided into two parts, autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In autotrophic mode of nutrition, an organism is able to synthesize their own food from simple organic substances like carbon dioxide and water, example green plants and bacteria. Heterotrophic organism is unable to synthesize, but they are dependable. They are unable to synthesize, hence they are dependable on others to fulfill the requirement of food. The three major types of this heterotrophic mode of nutrition are saprophytic, parasitic and holozoic. In saprophytic, an organism is dependable on dead or waste or decay materials, example fungi. In parasitic, an organism is dependable on another living organism, example plasmodium and roundworms. Now next is holozoic mode of nutrition. Now, in holozoic mode of nutrition, an organism used to intake or ingest the nutrient or food on the basis of their food habit. Such organisms are considered of different types, example herbivorous, carnivorous and omnivorous. So, in holozoic mode of nutrition, an organism used to intake the nutrient or food, and on the basis of their food habits, these organisms are further considered of herbivorous. They prefer to eat plants. Carnivorous, they prefer to eat other animals, and omnivorous, They prefer to eat plant as well as animals also. It's over up to here. In next class, we will start to discuss about nutrition in human beings. Thank you, dear students.